This is a story of how the media creates us. This is the main question is how the media creates us. We feminists frequently say that personal is political, since women were so long in history kept away from political space and public space, as well as many of vulnerable groups and so on. Since I am primarily a biopolitical theorist, and biopolitics is the sum of all repressive mechanisms used by state or other centers of power to regulate our life, especially its biological component, life and death, reproduction, education, illness, or health. And we all experienced biopolitical measures through the time of COVID-19. My primary research led me to Paul Preciado, a transgender person and theorist that coined the term auto-theory to explain the specter of gender we can now sustain with our pharmacokinetics. And he said that one can be the subject of its own theoretical research, and it is possible with the when the subject of our research is so close to us, as well as in a digital environment, because we are all deep into the digital environment. Well, next. This is me, and my name is Marija Ratković. By dedication, I'm theorist of media and arts, and by my vocation, my occupation, I'm an activist. I have raised my voice once and just never stopped. I remember I have started organized actions in the time of massive floods in Serbia, and then I never go quiet. Now I'm widely recognized as a human rights activist, journalist against the hate speech, advocate, and more. I'm a directress, as you said, of Center of Biopolitical Education, the newly established platform for the knowledge production and work on cultural, political, legal, philosophical, moral, and ethical aspects of human practices. But this is also me. The segments of my identity, these are photos from my profiles on different social networks. And here we see my Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter content. And during my career, I worked a lot, and I worked in different topics. Well, here are my photos and posts from private parties, holidays, my family gatherings, and protests. And so, when we come to problems of identity on social networks, the basic research we can provide on ourselves. But there is a dark side always. Last year, I had started working at the local government in Šabac, my hometown in Serbia. My function was the assistant of mayor for youth affairs. At the first assembly gathering, one of the representatives of the oppositional party used my photos from Belgrade Fashion Week to discredit me. These performative photos depicting me in a bathroom wearing a bathrobe. And they were used to advocate against my competence to work with youth. And it's not something new, because we are now going to the topic little behind this, and we will go after to we will go back to this story. Then media and gender roles are complex, and I think the case study of female body and female identity on social networks is a great case study to show both the wide spectrum of what we can approach or our success, and also the spectrum of hate and discrimination and the violence, also in as a kind of dark side of our existence on social networks. And so on the beginning, I must say that classic media or media do not create gender roles, but only reproduce it, because the media, both classic or new media, internet connected, is also a mirror of our lives in, I would say, offline reality. And we tend to share our values or our civilizational values to the media, and to present it and to live it into the media. So due to numerous simplification and short compact formats, all media formats works with stereotypes. And that's the main reason media constantly reproduce stereotypes on gender, but any other. Also, we have numerous examples in sitcoms. Our humor are also full of stereotypes. Our ads, music or sport videos, we are working, I would say, on stereotypes like some kind of motor of our civilization. But also there is a very big question with the democratization of media, and with internet, as we are all could be media producers. Did we move forward? Is it any better with internet and new media? I will try to show you on the case study of women and the timeline of women engagement in media, especially IT and internet media, that the success is not a constant up line. It's a really dark kind of road with many obstacles and problems along the way. I choose a study with women in center because we basically, or rather say literally, invented the new media. On this photo, you can see Ada King Lovelace, a mathematician from the 17th or 18th century. I don't know how you count the centuries, but some of the first, she was one of the first persons ever to recognize that the machine could have applications beyond the pure calculation, and to have published the first algorithm intended to be carried out by such a machine computer. Then we can also see the Hedy Lamarr on the right side. She was also inventor and the person behind advances in computation technology in the 14th years in 20th century that led us to today, Wi-Fi technology, GPS, and Bluetooth. Also, women were the first software engineers until, and I must say that, men actively push them out, because we have plenty of examples, and one of the cruelest was then the 6 women whose software worked was crucial to operation and success. The program ENIAC were not invited to the dinner celebration for the completion of ENIAC program. And also in 60s, we will see this, and after also, Software engineering was considered a women's work because it was taught as a clerical, and it was considered natural to women. Well, next. And we have that maybe confusing timeline to show you that there is no right path from the presenter in the early age of television and internet to the influencer of today. Because on these photos, you can see the different types of media-related professionals in different ages. We have in 30s and 40s, we have on the left side, we have a photo of Aline Bernstein-Saarinen. She was a well-known critic of art and architecture in the United States, an author and a television journalist. She graduated in 30s from Vassar College and New York University, Institute of Fine Arts, and so on. And she was a specialist in the history of architecture, and maybe you heard of her second husband, famous Finnish architect, Eero Saarinen. And she was a famous television author, I would say, but also and presenter in the early age of television. But also we have a different specter of women in media, and there is an example of Lucille Ball. She was famous actress, the girl next door, and US comedian of the golden era of television. Her shows, I Love Lucy, Lucy Show, Here's Lucy, and Live with Lucy were the history of the sitcoms, and she was also studio executive and producer. I would not present, since our time is ticking, I will not present Oprah and Greta Thunberg because they are well-known influencers of today, but I only wanted to show you the specter of engagement in media and different paths that women had both in 30s and now in 2020s. And we will now briefly go to the dark side of media, the hate speech and violence I had mentioned I also encountered. There are three American icons, I would say, and we all know who these women are. When we talk about violence on the internet, we should remember the so-called patient zero, the first person to have their reputation completely destroyed worldwide via the internet. She is Monica Lewinsky. And you know, maybe you know, now she's a well-known activist and lecturer on violence on internet, because after 20 years, she restored her life in the fight against the violence on internet. But we also know from the tabloid news and YouTube videos and also many examples of the violence on the internet. I choose to show Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Kamala Harris as a new kind of I would say turn of our days, because after 230 250 years, Kamala Harris is the first female vice president of the United States. 250 years is a very long period of not including any women till now. And I mentioned Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez as a person, a millennial, who is also born in new media, and she also encountered the violence, but she fought it in the real time. And this is a kind of turn into only 20 years from the beginnings of internet and internet violence, from Monica Lewinsky and using her personal life to discredit her and successfully discredit her for the next 20 years. And the example of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she also had troubles with interfering personal life into her professional life with the in order to discredit her. And that was the millennial turn of us, of generation of people that are born and constantly being reborn in media. To understand this, we have to deconstruction the term of an identity. There is this, I would say, humorous meme that says on the internet, nobody knows you're a dog, because from the first concepts of internet identity, so-called avatars, we try to transpond the concept of our private integrated identity from offline world to internet through the avatars and on social networks or forums or similar engines. We have to just briefly go through the concept of truth and true or false speech acts or sentences. I started with the Austin, I would say language theorist, author of the book How to Do Things with Words. And Austin was also the creator of speech act theory. He made clear that by saying something, we do perform an action and or just state things. I would not bother you with the terms of locutionary, illocutionary, and perilocutionary speech acts, but what is important to know that there is multiple functions of language, which is important also for our construction of identity. Aristotle differ arts onto mimesis and poiesis. Then we can differ the representative and performative practices. For example, if in one, we represent something that exists somewhere else, as I mentioned, when we represent the exact person on internet, for example. But also, we could perform something completely new, which has never existed in that form anywhere before. That was a kind of difference between representative and performative practices. In language, as you can see on this slide, we can have a representative practice of language to describe something, to constate something. for example, that kind of speech acts are always true or false. When we say it's raining, it is raining or it's not raining. It is true or it is false. But Austin taught us about performative practice of language and performance into language. That cannot be true or false. That can only be happy or unhappy, successful or not successful. For example, when we say, I apologize, or the class is over, or I now pronounce you married, these are the speech acts that do specific action. And also, Austin understood that there is a whole context that made also some kind of speech act happy or unhappy. Because when some of the pupils, students in classroom say the class is over, the class isn't over. Because we need authority. We need authority of the teacher and context of the class, of the classroom, to understand that performative act could be happy or unhappy, and so on. This basics of theory of text could help us to understand the performative use of social media and our identities. So we all know about Dolly Parton challenge, this year's challenge, but it was like in the last century, actually, because it was before the pandemic. Can we talk about social network self in terms of true or false? Yes, we can, but it is not sufficient to describe this kind of complex identity. So, although we might say that we only represent ourselves in social media, we also invent and reinvent ourselves in accordance of the type of the media we are up to. And so all these pictures are in the same time, and all these identities of Dolly Parton are at the same time true and false. And the things are going more and more complicated with the Internet of Things. We are not only communicate between ourselves, and we are not only think of ourselves or the others in terms of true or false, or a specter of truth into the terms of identity. We also have this broad part of the communication between our devices. We all have prescriptions that communicate, for example, our accounts communicate with our bank account, and also sorry, I was just tormented for a minute. Do we need actually the truth or identity when we have unlimited data flow between all of our devices? And can we shift our thinking about our identity to the much more complex set of problems that we have, since our privacy is not invaded only in terms that someone will look at our photos, but all of our information constantly flow, and we are frequently unaware of it because we cannot see someone complaining on our photos and so on. So, and what would be the provisional conclusion? What the Generation Z could teach us about when the new, what is the next turn after the millennial turn I mentioned of the people entered the new media as newly born. This is a print screen of the one very important project of making new influencers online, and the new platform that gather and shift that influence to the people around the world. Now we have enormous number of micro influencers around the globe. We are not globalized network anymore, in the sense we all have to share same values and the same tradition and civilization values. We all could be influencers now, and it is very important to understand and to accept all the risks of influencing, I would say, part of the earth, and use it the right way. We all, every part of the, I would say, science, or the, I would say science could be interpreted by its light side or its dark side. And I would show the transformation. The last slide is transformation of our life that we couldn't imagine 20 years ago. As we have that new generation leaders that widely embrace new media in their work and influence. On this picture, we can see Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's also known. She is known by her serving at U.S. representative from New York and 14th congressional district since 2019. She embraced all of the information intended to harm her into her new media picture, new media self of a new leader. Also, we have Erna Solberg, Norwegian politician serving as Prime Minister of Norway. She also embraced all of her different roles and shows it to the world, making that popular, especially in the time of COVID-19, making that intensive contact with kids, with children, making that, I would say, out of the box press conferences for children. Then we can see the Jacinda Ardern, a New Zealand politician who has been serving for the 14th Prime Minister of New Zealand and the leader of Labour Party since 2017, and she embraced her role as a mother and bring it to the politics. And we, on the picture, we can see her breastfeeding in the assembly of New Zealand, but also one of her colleagues feeding her baby during the assembly gathering. Also, these are the photos that couldn't be seen never before our time, I would say the best of times. And also we see on the last part of the photo the Belgian, the Belgian Deputy Prime Minister, the first transgender minister in Europe. It's a milestone. And also a trans woman, Hendrika Kellan, in Indonesia, overcomes social barriers in conservative Indonesia with the support of her community. And we can see her talking with sex workers and bring that fact and that all that I would say media content into her media image with I would say reborn herself into media. And that could be one of the many strategies of overcoming that dark part of internet. And we constantly have to rethink and to find trying to find strategies and mechanisms of overcoming problems. But I would conclude this short presentation with the fact that we may be living in the best of times, because turning back, we can see that never has been better. It is complicated and we have to overcome many things, but I think we could do it, especially together with the values of solidarity and empathy and care. So that was my note.